It's Wednesday, April the 19th. Lake level's right at 9:15. It's maybe come up a couple inches since last week. Water temperature's actually starting to come up, really good. It's pretty much 60 degrees now first thing in the morning, and late this afternoon it got up to 65, 66. It's amazing what a few days can make a difference with the warmer water. Now this past weekend we had a couple, fairly big tournaments. Some of them were really tough, but the local guys, that Anglers in Action, really caught them well Saturday. It took like 21 pounds, and I didn't fare too well. I had 2 or 3 days this weekend where I was really struggling to catch them. I was messing a lot with the Ned rig, so I moved to a different area of the lake Monday. The last 3 days I've been up the Upper White River, and it's been phenomenal up there. I mean, we're catching them on top waters. We're catching them on a flutter spoon, Carolina rig, football jig. I mean, we've been catching 40 to 50 fish a day with, a good number of them, being solid keepers, a lot of 3-pound fish, catching smallmouth, Kentuckys, and largemouth. And tomorrow I'm going down to fish Kimberling City to the dam. I understand that area is turning on real good now too. But as far as, what I've been catching them on, probably the main 2 baits the last 2 or 3 days has been a swim bait. And a couple different swim baits, we've been throwing. We've been throwing a 3.8, and I think it's a 4.3 Kitech. And I'm throwing it on a 1/4 ounce head on a bait caster, 5/16. And I'm also throwing a little 2.8 on a 1/8 ounce head. Now, a lot of times these fish, be setting the boat 10, 12 feet, fishing gravel points, going into spawning pockets. And what's worked out good up in the White River, I think a lot of the fish are further along, so we've got a combination of some of the fish are post-spawn, some of them are still pre-spawn. Now, it seems like a lot of the shallow fish we're catching on the swim bait seem to be predominantly more smallmouth. Now, if you back out a little bit in that 15 to 22 feet, we've been catching some on Carolina rigs, like a baby brush hog or a lizard. 5/8 ounce football jig is working good. Now, those have been some of my better fish, but there's not a lot of bites. And I think as more fish get done spawning, there'll be more fish out there in that, 15 to 20 foot range. Still a lot of fish on beds. Most of the fish I'm seeing, and that's going to be, we're going to have fish on beds, I think, for another 4 or 5 weeks. But most of the fish that I'm seeing are just 2-pounders or maybe even a little smaller. The better fish, I think, are out on deeper beds, and we've caught some of them on top waters. I guess there's so much stuff to talk about. I mean, where I'm catching the topwater fish is in the centers of a lot of these deep spawning pockets. The shad are starting to migrate. I think we're a week or 2 away from the shad starting to spawn, but they're really grouping up in the center of these pockets. And what we've been able to do for 2 or 3 hours in the morning, we've had great conditions because it's been cloudy and overcast, is you basically can see the fish blowing the shad in the middle of these pockets, and we're throwing either a swim bait through them, or we're throwing a Dixie Jet, a 5/8 ounce white spoon through them, or we're catching some on pop-bars, spooks, and flukes out around that bait. And it seems like when that settles down, we've been going, mainly to the points. You can probably still catch a bunch of Ned rig fish. We haven't been throwing it that much because it seems like a lot of the Ned rig fish we're catching, you got to catch a lot of little ones to catch a decent keeper. So we're getting more, we're catching more keeper fish on the swim baits and back out a little bit deeper. Now today we stayed from probably Shelton to Campbell Point for 3 or 4 hours. Then we decided to go see if we could go up to Kings River and find some bigger fish. And I think we had like 25 fish before we went up into Kings and caught another 25 up there. The water was about 5-6 degrees warmer. We found 65, 66 degree water. Excuse me. About halfway up to Kings, the watercolor changed, got into some good stain. And what we were doing up there was fishing bluff cut pockets, channel swings, And there's a lot of wood up there, even with the water at 9:15 with the recent flood that we had in December. There's a lot of laydowns, a lot of debris. So basically we was flipping everything that we could see, and what we was flipping was a 3/8 ounce Snowden jig. A couple different colors we was throwing. This is kind of like a California 420, and I was throwing for the craw. It's a crocagator. It's similar to like a critter craw. It's a watermelon and blue, or a straight green pumpkin was working as well. Another thing I was flipping up there was on a 5/16 ounce Texas rig. Was either a beaver, California 420, or a biffle bug. And I think they call it, it's like a green pumpkin watermelon. I think they call it Sooner Run is the color. Seemed to be working real well. Now, and we also caught fish up around the laydowns on a pawpaw. We tried to spinnerbait some, but it seemed to be all the fish were pretty tight to cover, and nothing was deeper than probably 8 foot deep. You know, they were either right up shallow, or if there was a laydown, just fish the laydown all the way out to where it went to 6 to 8 feet. And, you know, the fish were out there on it. You know, the bite was really good. You could, for the most part, the fish were picking the bait up and swimming with it. Now, you know, down lake, that topwater bite and spoon bite is just going to get better and better. As far as how we was fishing the spoon, if you're interested in a good technique on fishing this spoon, if you'll go to my website, it's hookedonbass.com. You'll see some videos I've done that's on cable rock tips from the pros. And I did one with Bill Beck about 6 months ago, and he did an awesome job explaining, you know, what type of cover he fishes the spoon on and how he fishes it. So if you're curious about, you know, how to fish it, go to Hooked on Bass and check out that video that I did with Bill Beck. It's really very informative. But, you know, that bite is just going to get better and better, and it should be the same for the next, 4 to 5 weeks, because we're going to have fish coming and going on a lot of these same points. Like I said, the Carolina bite and the football jig bite, that's a little bit better fish, out deeper. I know there was still a lot of Alabama rig fish caught this past weekend, but I think you're going to see that kind of slow down as more of the fish get done spawning, start relating a little bit more to the bottom. Another bait that we're catching them on too is a tube. And, where did I set them? Yeah, here they are. But a green pumpkin, Chomper's tube, Bass Pro XPS, a lot of different ones will work. I don't like a real big fat flipping tube. I like a 3.5 to 4 inch in a green pumpkin or watermelon red. And I'll usually stick an 1/8 ounce, 3/16, a 1/4 ounce jig head up inside of it with an open hook. And we're fishing these the same place we're fishing the swim baits and the Ned rigs. Now, what you might have to do, the swim bait bite, it seems like it's been fairly shallow. We've had great conditions with the wind and the cloud cover. You might have to back the boat out to 20, 25 feet of water and fish that 8 to 10 foot range with the tube. But I've been catching a lot of fish on it, and I talked to some of my buddies, and it sounds like the bite from Kimberling City, that the dam has really picked up as well. So tomorrow we're going to go launch in that area and work that direction. So the next 3-4 weeks is going to be awesome fishing. Got a full moon, I think, tomorrow night. Going to bring a bunch more fish in, shallow to spawn. Fish is going to do nothing but get better and better. So till next week, good luck, good fishing.